All right, friends, well, I just want to take a few minutes and run you through, as we often do, what I have here on the boat with me and the tackle and the flies that I'm using. And first and foremost, carrying on the boat with me, there was no real threat of rain, so I did not bring my waterproof backpack on the boat today. Of course, it's with me. But on the boat, I've got a bag we've told you a lot about most recently. I'm carrying this as my boat bag. I know a lot of our employees are, and of course Flip Pallet is, but this is the Flip Pallet leader luggage. And not only is it leader luggage, of course I have everything I need here to tie leaders for this situation. On the other side, I've got heavier spools of mono. But then on the inside of the bag, I can keep everything I'm gonna need on the boat. I've got extra tippet spools. I've got a comb. Y'all know how I am about my hair. Hook sharpener, I've got needle nose pliers, I got a small pair of hemos. I do have fly floating. You want to carry fly floating with you when you're bass fishing for your deer hair bass bugs, which I love to fish. I've got sunscreen, I've got a nautical knife, and then the boomerang clippers, cutters. I can use these scissors to trim a fly. And then of course these things cut everything down to wire, so the boomerangs are always there. So everything I need, I can keep. My cell phone fits perfectly in the outside zippered pocket. I can even, I had a water in here the other day. So everything I need is right there in this bag, and it's super easy. Just a couple of fly boxes I brought on this particular trip. I didn't bring my, my big boat boxes that I would carry back home if I'm out in my Ranger bass boat. So I just kind of gathered up. I've got a subsurface box a surface box here and a subsurface box here. We'll talk about the flies in just a second. 6 weights, I've got 2 6 weights. I think a 6 weight and a 7 weight is perfect for bass. A 5 weight's a little light for throwing the size of bugs, and I think an 8 weight is just overkill for most bass fishing. So 6 and 7 is what I use. This happens to be my Scott Wave 9-foot 6 weight. I really like this rod. I've been fishing it for a couple years since the Wave came out. The reel, I have an Able Via on here, which is absolutely overkill. I just like these reels, and in fact, you'll see in the footage, I don't believe I have ever put a bass on a fly reel. I mean, you're always landing a bass by stripping them in. No reason to put them on the reel. They're not going to test a drag system, so any fly reel will work. You know how I feel about reels. Fly reels, all fly reels do the same 3 things. So it doesn't matter what your reel is. Just so happens, I do like these Able Vias, but again, overkill. I'm trying out some new fly lines for Cortland. They have a new bass series out on the market, and this is the Bass Floater. It's very, very similar to Flip Pallet's high vis line. I think they made the head a little bit longer, and it's a little more aggressive of a taper up front for throwing larger bugs. I like the line. It performed really well. I've been fishing for a couple of days here in Georgia, and I like the line a lot, but I cannot, for the life of me, figure out why you would make the head of the line green and make the running line orange. That doesn't make sense. We're gonna have to have a talk. The head of this line should be bright orange. I mean, you know, as we've talked countless times, fly line color doesn't matter to the fish. It matters to me, and I would have cast this line a lot better if that head was orange. Why you would need an orange running line, I have no idea. So anyway, sorry to be critical. It's a good line. It worked really well. It threw these bugs well. Then I also have a new rod that we've been playing around with from Echo. And this is the Echo 8.4B, 8 foot 4 inches. I did not love this rod for throwing floating lines, but it worked pretty well throwing a sinking line, or in this case, an intermediate line. The Echo 8.4B, 8 foot 4 inches, again a 6 weight, and I've got the other new Cortland bass line, and this is an intermediate head. It's camouflage, which is kind of cool, but not overly necessary, but it just looks cool, makes you feel cool. The line casts very well. I would probably, when I fish this rod again, I think this Cortland line is 1 line size heavy. I'd actually put the 7 weight, which would actually be an 8 weight. I would put the 7 weight on the 6 weight. It just wasn't quite loading this rod enough, deep enough into the rod. But once I kind of got the rhythm of it, it was working fine. I do like both of these Cortland lines. Good job, Cortland, with the exception of the backwards color on the floating line. So this is the Cortland Bass Intermediate. I like it. You might consider going up a line heavier on certain rods, especially if you're fishing these shorter bass kind of rods. Of course, my leader formula for contact fly fishing, it never changes. You have a 3-part leader formula. On the floating line, I went with about a 5 foot butt section. That butt section is of course determined by the tip of the line. It's not the diameter. I'm matching the stiffness of the butt section to the stiffness of the fly line. My tippet is of course matched to the fly. I was probably using 13 thousandths tippet, and then what you do with your 18-inch midsection is you split the difference diameter wise. This is the leader formula that Flip Palette has been working on for a number of years now. I think we've finally got it perfected. So it's a simple 3-part formula. Make the butt section as long as you want, 18-inch transition, 18-inch tippet, 3 parts. Same thing on a sinking line. It's just that I go 2 foot of butt section, I go 1 foot of mid or transition, and I go 1 foot of tippet. Same story, match the stiffness on the butt, match the tippet to the fly and the fish, and split the difference diameter-wise on that midsection. Remember, on a sinking line or an intermediate line, I'm usually going no more than 4 or 5 foot on that leader. So, of course, on the sinking line, what fly was I fishing? You probably already know, the Swimming Jimmy. You know, back when I was guiding in the 2000s, the Swimming Jimmy produced some of the largest bass that I ever caught. In fact, the biggest bass I ever caught. If I told you how big it was, you'd call me a liar, especially in Ohio, but it was on a Swimming Jimmy. And then today, what happened? The biggest fish I caught today, which was a really, really beautiful Georgia bass, was on the Swimming Jimmy. I think it's one of the best bass flies ever created. I think it's one of the best fishing flies ever created. And then on the floating line, I was throwing also one of my old standbys, the Umpqua Swimming Frog. Just a fantastic pattern. It makes a great sound in the water. It dives just perfectly like a frog, leaves a great bubble line, just drives fish crazy, as you've already seen, and you'll probably see more here in this video. But that Umpqua Swimming Frog tore them up. And then another one of my favorites, a go-to, is Dave Whitlock's Fruit Cocktail. You know, we kind of switched over to the Fruit Cocktail after it got a little brighter this morning. The surface bite slowed down a little bit, so that Fruit Cocktail was making a little louder of a pop, pushing a little bit more water, hopefully drawing their attention from a little bit deeper, and did wind up catching a few fish on that. So, you know, I've got a bunch of different flies here in my box. I always try to experiment around. Of course, have to give an honorable mention to Blaine Chocolate's Game Changers and Jerk Changers from the Chocolate Factory. That may well be the best bass fly ever created, especially a jerk changer. And definitely over the course of the past few days have thrown some game changers and jerk changers. Just this morning I stuck to my 3 standby, go-to, never be without bass flies, and of course they didn't let me down. So there you have it. As always, if you have any questions on setting up a proper bass outfit, you can give us a call at the shop or shoot us an email. We're always happy to help. If you like this video, hit subscribe. It helps out a lot. And check out these videos. We think you might like them too.